Good morning and welcome to this December 7th, 2021 special board business meeting. I will begin by checking to ensure that we have a quorum present, starting with Ms. O'Looney.
Good morning. Present, Ms. O'Looney, student member of the Board of Education.
Ms. Harris,
Good morning, Lynn Harris, at-large member.
Ms. Evans,
Good morning. Great to see everyone.
Ms. Silvestri,
Good morning, Carla Silvestre, Vice President of the Board.
Dr. Docker,
Good morning, Judy Daka,
Ms.
District 1.
Mandrowski.
Good morning, Rebecca Smondrowski, District 2.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand. And that is unanimous. When the board originally considered this resolution on Thursday, we engaged in a robust discussion about the implications of the proposed resolution. In the spirit of democracy and transparency, this is the type of discussion we should conduct in an open meeting so that each board member's position is heard. I appreciate the passion and engagement of my colleagues. Mask muffles you a little bit too much, I think. However, with a series of motions and discussions, it became difficult to keep order, and we made a procedural mistake. Therefore, we are here today to take a vote again to correct the mistake. I will read the resolved paragraphs of the resolution. Then I will need a motion, a second, and a vote. Okay? Let me just find it. Just have it a second. Oh. So. Resolved that the 2021-2022 traditional and innovative school year calendars be modified to make 3 full instructional days, Wednesday, January the 12th, Thursday, March the 24th, and Wednesday, May the 18th, early release days. And be it further resolved that the 2021-2022 traditional and innovative school year calendars be modified to make Thursday, December 23rd, Monday, December 27th, Tuesday, December 28th, Wednesday, December 29th, and Thursday, December 30th, Wednesday, April 13th, and Thursday, April 14th, 2022, system-wide closure days for Montgomery County Public Schools. And be it further resolved that in alignment with the federal Juneteenth holiday, June 19, 2022, to be celebrated on Monday, June 20th, 2022, be modified to be a system-wide closure. And be it further resolved that the proposed modifications to the Montgomery County Public Schools 2021-2022 traditional and innovative school year calendars be adopted.
I would like to renew the motion I made at the December 2nd board meeting to approve the resolution as written by Dr. McKnight.
Is there a second?
I will second it.
Is there discussion? Would you turn your light on if you'd like to say something? Ms. Harris?
Yes, thank you very much. I would preface my comments by saying my concerns about lack of notice to the public and to the board continue. I think it's a lost opportunity when we do not provide adequate notice to the public about major system recommendations or proposals to be made aware of their thoughts and concerns and take advantage of the wisdom that they bring to our work and perhaps making modifications in a timely way before we come to a vote. I'm also concerned that the lack of notice to me as a board member did not permit me to exercise my role of oversight and governance with due diligence. My concerns about option 1, I would like to have seen us come forward with real proposals for boots on the ground, approved, tested, and recommended strategies to improve operations and workload issues in schools every day. And I think we're all hearing a lot of really good suggestions, both from inside our system and from other systems, about ways to improve those workload stresses on an ongoing basis instead of with the 3 additions of early release days. And on option 2, I feel like, especially as chair of the Fiscal Management Committee, I don't have any understanding of the budgetary impacts of providing 7 additional paid days off for approximately 7,500 staff. And the also budget impacts of now that we have, some staff can't take off these days because of community use. We have 4 schools moving to holding schools over the break. So we do know we do have essential staff that must work. And so the budget impact of now, we'd be paying those folks at an enhanced rate because the rest of the people in their pay, in their work category are have system-wide closure days. And those are real budget impacts that I also have not seen quantified for us to understand. And so I would ask that, again, I would ask that we consider amending this motion to bifurcate each of the 3 calendar options so we can have a full understanding of each going forward. So that is my amendment, that I move the amendment that we bifurcate the resolution so we can consider each option separately.
I'm not sure that we do that before we vote on the motion that's on the floor. I think you have to vote on the motion that's on the floor, and then if that fails, you can offer an amendment if you're on the...
Okay, my mistake, I thought that we could do first and
No,
last.
I don't think we do it. I think we have to vote on the
All right,
motion
my
that is on the floor.
my apologies.
Okay, Ms. Silvestri.
Yeah, I echo Ms. Harris's concern about the lack of notice to the board around the early release days. Again, I just need time to process things, talk with constituents, think through the implications, and so that is why at the December board meeting, I voted down the original resolution. But then when I realized that if we delayed it to the January board meeting, then the plan doesn't work, because then we would give no notice to parents, or it would have to do with the mid-January early release day. And that is why I ended up supporting the resolution and why I plan to support the resolution today.
Dr. Daca.
Yes, as many of you know, I can only speak with you as a teacher and an administrator. Those are my backgrounds. So I want to talk about some of the reasons that I support this. This is an unusual year. We are not always able to follow the rules exactly, but there are some times when we have to do things because the timing is what we have to get done, and we want people to know what it is that we're planning. I have to say this about teaching. In general, secondary teachers have to teach about 125 kids a day. This takes a lot of energy because you have to know what each child is thinking, you have to know how you're getting across, you have to anticipate what they're not going to understand, and you're going to have to figure out when they have mastered it. This takes a lot of energy, and elementary school persons have, say, 18 to 25 students, but they have 5 subjects that they have to deal with each of the students. And it's just a taxing kind of thing. And when teachers have to cover classes, it just doesn't work really well at all. They need their planning time in order to produce the best for their students. Because if they're really harried, as they are now, they're not giving the best, and they're so worried about what was lost. And when you speak with them and you hear from them, it's heartfelt that they're feeling they're not doing as much as they would like to do with their students. Sorry, my phone keeps going off. There has been some question about hiring. Well, why don't you hire more people, and why don't you have more subs? Well, I think that we're trying. I know Dr. Nixon has reported to us a number of times. They have pop-up fairs to get people. They go to our retired persons and say, please come back. They are hiring seniors who are majoring in education or something affiliated with education to come in. And I just want to say that I'm bringing up Jeanette Dixon. We didn't agree on much, but Jeanette made the suggestion that we allow subs to have 2 years of college so that we could have more subs. And why'd she do that? Because on regular school days, we have to cover classes. I mean, before any of this happened. Monday and Friday was particularly hard. At one point during my career, we were told no Mondays and Fridays unless you're approved by the principal, because it could affect the program. So it's not like this is a brand new thing. We can't get enough bus drivers. We can't get people into our service employees areas. I mean, it's just not a good time at all. And having people have some time to themselves so they can renovate is really important. And I know that the half days and the days that are given at the end of the semesters are so important. I don't know whether you realize how many grades have to be there. If you're not an administrator, you don't know that you have to read every one of those grades to make sure they're correct. And if they're not correct, you have to go back to the teacher. The teacher has to give a reason. You have to do a memo to the grading, I don't know, I've forgotten, memo to the file that you're making a change in the grading. So there's a lot to this, and I just hope people understand that we're not trying to push people around, but we are trying to say that our teachers and our administrators and our other employees need a break so that they can refresh and do a better job with our students, because as everybody says, our students are the most important. And I truly believe that, and I'm not just saying that because we're voting again. But thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mandrowski.
Yep, thank you. So I too want to, I want to make a couple statements, and then I have a question about the point of order, because I do believe that any amendments are supposed to be made before the final, a final vote on a resolution is voted on. But I'll let you just determine if that's right. But first I want to once again reiterate my disappointment in the process, like my colleagues have mentioned, and the communication about this calendar modification. I think that everyone knows I'm a big believer in more discussion, and I think that between last Thursday and today I've made it pretty clear that I have not felt that this has played out the way that it should have, and hopefully will in the future. Like my colleague, Ms. Harris, I would have loved to have had a chance to see what we looked at in order, with any fiscal aspect to this, in terms of what we looked at to support lasting relief and supports to our staff, so that because the staffing shortage doesn't seem to be going away anytime immediately or anytime soon. That being said, I do think that given the challenges of this year, there's a solid argument for the system-wide closure over winter break and for adding the additional half days to address staff needs. And I know that giving teachers more time to coordinate their increasingly complex work is good for instruction, which is in fact therefore good for students, as you mentioned at the last meeting. I would say though that these are not easy decisions, and that is why we need time to be able to process information, speak with our constituents, review where we feel we need to be to sleep well at night and to feel that we're doing the right thing for all. I feel like it is very sad that when we come to these type of difficult decisions, it ends up seeming as though people like to make it such that it's you're on one side or the other. Voting for this does not make you anti-student, and voting against this does not make me anti-teacher. And I really hope that as a community, we can come together and just appreciate that we're all trying to do what's best for children. I can speak for myself in saying that I do this work because I believe in it. I believe in the school system, and I care deeply about our students, our staff, and our community, and the families that make it. So assuming the amendments are not there, I will vote in favor of this, but I cannot say strongly enough that in the future, the process needs to be different, or I will not be able to participate in the voting. Thank you.
Do we have a ruling on the amendment issue?
So we should vote on the motion made first, and if it fails, we can come back to the amendment.
Are we sure about that? Because I believe, point of order, you can move to amend a motion that's live on the floor. And then if the motion to amend is seconded, there's discussion on the amendment, and then it's last in, first out. The amendment's voted first, it fails or succeeds or fails. And then either you're voting on an amended motion or the original based on the fate of the amendment.
Okay, but what our research has shown that under an old version, friendly amendments can be voted on that way. But under the new Roberts rules, it's to vote on the first motion first. If you all would like to take a recess to make sure that is
Yeah.
correct, we can
Right.
take a recess and visit that issue and come back if you'd like.
I'm going to let Ms. O'Looney speak, and then we will take a recess and visit that issue. Ms. Loon?
Yeah, I just wanted to speak on Ms. Silvestre's motion to vote on the original resolution, and also just express my disappointment with the way that this resolution was not communicated with our community. I do think decisions of this magnitude, which are probably some of the biggest decisions a board like this can make, impact every single one of our community members, and therefore need to be discussed with as many different community members as possible. To hear concerns and to hear support. I know we've heard some concerns about childcare, which was addressed at the last board meeting. We've heard concerns about learning loss, which was this board agreed was pretty minimal in consideration of the context of the entire school year and the fact that this school system has more learning hours than our neighboring district. But it would have been nice to be able to communicate this with our community and get a more diverse range of perspectives on the issue. That being said, I'm not going to let that prevent me from supporting Ms. Silvestre's motion to support this resolution, because I speak with staff members in our school buildings every single day. I speak with students every single day, and I have heard so much from such a wide, diverse range of both staff and students that this year has been excruciating. It has been difficult going from almost 0 to 100 very, very quickly, right? Online learning was nothing like the fully packed classrooms and school buildings we find ourselves in now. And I know we've talked a lot about staff, but from the student perspective, this year has been really, really tough. Something I hear time and time again from students is we want those C days back. We want those Wednesdays off in the middle of the week. And I know we can't do that because of the state. But I think this is a great example, a great illustrative example of the fact that sometimes when you take a step back and you give students time to breathe and you give them time to rest, we talk so much about mental health at this board table. When you give students a time to rest and recharge, they can come back to the classroom stronger, more motivated, more ready to do work. So I do think that this resolution is focused on students and will benefit students. And I do want to express my support, but I do wish that we could have engaged with our community a little bit more on this decision. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we'll go into a we're saying 10-minute recess. So we will come back at 10:30. Okay, we're back. I'm going to ask Ms. Seabrook and Ms. Webb to advise us as to the outcome.
Okay, so we did read the most recent version of Robert's Rules, and under Section 12, Mrs. Harris's motion to amend can be considered as long as it's germane and not an independent motion, but germane motion to change the wording of the original motion made. And so if that is the case, then we should have Mrs. Harris to make that motion, to just clarify that that is what it was.
The motion, I believe, at this point would be to amend the resolution by striking the first resolved paragraph related to early release days. And then we can entertain a separate motion if that one were to succeed, to consider that one separately. So that is my motion to amend the resolution by striking the first resolved that relates to the 3 early release days.
So I need a second, if there is a second. If there is no second,
I'll second.
all right, is there any discussion? Ms. Silvestri?
Just wondering if, according to your amendment, how would that play out in terms of making a decision about the early release days?
It is still my very strong belief that this action of this magnitude requires the input of all of those who will be impacted. And I understand we've been boxed in a bit by the timing of the dates, and I do understand that we would possibly be putting us into a place that we were unable to operationalize January 12th if we had to take an action that required further board action, and we don't meet again until the 13th.
Okay,
But I do understand that.
Ms. Mandrowski?
Yeah, my reason for seconding this motion is just because there are still some questions in reference to each of the aspects of the resolution. One big question that I have in reference to the system closures is about our 10-month employees. For example, I've heard from people with infants and toddlers and how that will affect both their pay as well as trying to ensure that they too have an opportunity, and how that is going. I don't know if you want to speak at all to how someone like, you know, some of our SEIU people and some of our 10-month employees who will have to work, how that's going to work for them, if you don't mind speaking to that.
No, absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Mandrowski. And I'm going to ask the staff to join us at the table who have been involved in these questions and the planning, just in case we can address this question and any other questions that come up. I want to thank you for that question, Ms. Mandrowski. I will not revisit my comments from last week. I shared with them, everyone heard them. I do want to say that when we look at this process, we do have to think about individually every single employee in the system. And so when we think about the actual days and all of the considerations in the calendar, some impact some employees in different ways than others. And as we go through and address the question specifically, we'll try to make sure you all understand exactly what that is. It will be different. I think earlier I heard there was a comment that was made in regards to some staff who will still have to work. We don't have a situation in which that is never the case. Even on an emergency day, we still have some staff members who still have to come in and work, given different situations. Our role is to make sure we honor them coming out in these different conditions to do that. And that's the system's responsibility, and that's exactly what we do. Before we get into questions, though, I did just want to make one comment, as we were having this discussion, I did not address this last week. But this process of what we've been talking about with our calendar, there are two things that I just want to put out there for us to think about. And I know we're going to get to the right answer, as you said, Ms. Mondrowski. At the end of the day, I have no doubt in my mind that this board will act in the best interest of our students, our staff, and our community, because we always do. But this is a conversation that we started several months ago. We started this conversation, and yes, I agree there may be processes in which we can improve what that communication looks like, but we did start this discussion a couple months ago, and we know that this is not a discussion that is occurring just in Montgomery County. The reason that's not the case is because, yes, in our regular calendar adoption year, we spend the time and we go through the process of soliciting the community input, and we value that because we come out with a calendar that does meet the needs of our entire community. This year is different, again, for so many other reasons. We opened school. We've learned about the challenges that have been facing all of our employees, and so we have to act in real time in some ways that are just different this year. So I just felt it was important to say that because I look forward to us getting back to the process and making sure the calendar that we adopt and address, we can follow the process as we normally do, and we can get out of this environment in which we have to constantly pivot. So I just thought it was important to share that with you so that we can put that information out there. If I can ask you all to really address that specific question around infants and toddlers, because they are one of our programs that.
Well, that, and at the meeting on Thursday, I had asked about the employees that have to work, so if you want to address that at the same time. I had asked about that as a follow-up, but if you want to address it here now, that would be great too. Thank you.
Okay, so for our employees, we have 12-month salary employees that would be working during winter break, and they are receiving double pay because it is a system-wide closure, but it is also considered emergency. So we also have 10-month employees that would be working as well. And 10-month employees are generally on the winter break, no pay day, no work day. So as 10-month employees that will be supporting projects, which I'm going to have Dana talk about some of the projects, and then we can show how we've strategically met with staff and outlined the projects and the scope of the work that we have to do over winter break. But 10-month employees generally would not be paid. However, if they are coming into work, they would be paid their hourly rate. So let me pause there, and we will pick up on the infants and toddlers as well. But I wanted Dana to outline the discussion that we've worked with all of our associations and colleagues around the work that would occur over winter break.
Thank you, Ms. Dawson. Good morning, everyone. Just to walk back a little bit and really starting to look at how do we utilize the time that we already have to be able to offer opportunities to make sure our students, one, have what they need, to make sure that the staff, regardless of what their duties are within our system, have what we need. It was important, especially in thinking about the concept of winter break, which is new to MCPS, in order for staff to be able to have that opportunity not to work during that time. What is it that we do traditionally during that time? What are the things that we need to do in order to operate so that when we do return or whatever happens during that time, we are not stopping our operations at any point in time? We took a deep dive into every facet of the work that would occur during that winter break time. One of the critical spaces that we do have to do, we do have 4 schools in one program that do need to move from their current location into a new location. We've discussed these schools as a board and really looking at and understanding the need for those projects to occur. But it does take a yeoman's effort in order to do it, as well as to be ready for the start of the school year. When those schools move, it touches pretty much every part of our organization. We need to make sure the furniture goes. We need to make sure the technology is available. And we do utilize staff from multiple offices across the district. If we did not propose to the board through the resolution, the winter break closure, those staff would still be working in order to be able to set up and be ready for the start of the year. And so in working with many of our operations departments, because those are the ones that are really on high time during that particular time, not only school moves, but we also have construction projects that occur. I'll give you an example. We have a location that will be receiving a security vestibule. We know the importance of that. And then there's some other pieces in some other schools that, because they're empty, they just need to be done. So we don't want to impact the fidelity of those operations. So we do recognize that, yes, there will be some staff that work, understanding the scope of the work, and as Ms. Dawson talked about, the pay. The staff that will work comprise staff under SEIU, as well as staff under McBoa, as well as staff that are under MCEA, and understanding the nuances. Having conversations with our association leadership to really understand what those pieces are, provide the logistics of those components, and ensure just that we are looking at all employees to make sure all employees are covered. With infants and toddlers, one of the key components is we do have to look at the scheduling that they have. And one thing that we don't want to do is we don't want to impact the compliance component of the work that they do, because it is connected to special education services. But really looking at the days in which they would need in order to complete their jobs, but also making sure that we're not disadvantaging them in any way possible. So these are still components of the work, and we will definitely look at balancing that component out, but we don't want to take away, well, we can't take away legally the opportunity for kids to be serviced through that program due to IDA.
Thank you so much for that response, Ms. Edwards, to try to be as thorough as possible. But Ms. Mandrowski, I appreciate you asking that. And I do know that our infants and toddlers representatives are working with the Board of the BOE representatives to specifically address what these areas are that are unique to them.
Oh, I appreciate hearing that, because,
Absolutely.
Again, concern with something kind of coming together quickly is making sure we haven't forgotten anybody or left anybody
Yes.
out. And I know I said this on Thursday, but I do really want to reiterate my concerns for our special education students as well, particularly those who are in individualized programs, specialized programs, and making sure that those families are aware of what's coming and have supports if they need them and stuff like that. So thank you.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Could you restate your motion one final time, Ms. Harris?
The motion is to amend the resolution by striking the first resolved clause so that it can be considered separately.
Seeing no further questions, all in favor, raise your hand. That's Ms. Mandrowski and Ms. Harris. All opposed, raise your hand. That is Ms. O'Looney, Ms. Evans, Ms. Silvestri, Ms. Wolf, and Dr. Daca. The motion fails. Now, we still have the original resolution.
Someone needs to call the question to bring that
Yeah,
one back.
call the question.
So restate it?
Just call the,
I call the question.
did you turn on it? Okay. All right, we have a motion. I believe you had a second on the floor also. So is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand of the original resolution. That is everyone except for Ms. Harris. So the resolution passes. I want to thank you all. I also want to remind everyone that no matter which side of the resolution you're on, we know that and recognize that everybody on this board is for the students and the staff of MCPS. Thank you.